So very recently, Mario Kart World got a surprisingly big update, numbered 1.4.0, which added a few things we could have expected, such as item toggles, which are insanely good in their own right. I mean, okay, I kinda want my hours back grinding out the NPCs the old-fashioned way, but life sucks when you die, so it goes. The thing is, I'm not here to talk about this update, but rather something that was discovered right before the update released, therefore meaning it's not yet been patched and probably won't be until the next big update, whenever that is. It started with some posts by Chrop, with credit on its discovery going to Mioblade, Optik, AprilShade, King Green, and Elixim. Let me stop tiptoeing around it. Here's the setup. You want to start with one of your Joy-Cons, then go into Time Trial, and select a course like Rainbow Road. Now, once you get there, the first step is to plug that singular Joy-Con back into your Switch 2, and with very precise timing after, around half a second, hit A. This will progress the menu right before the game realizes your controller is plugged in and pulls up this menu. So now just plug in any controller and go back, and if you did it right, the menu will awkwardly jut from this start icon to the map. Now when we start the round, a lot of UI elements are just gone, and maybe more notably, when Lakitu does his countdown, no numbers show up. These are all the signs you need to know that the game is kinda having a bad day at the office. You can still use the mushrooms you get from Time Trial, and doing so will highlight the invisible item box on your UI, but really everything you do will seem normal. Well, up until you get out of bounds. Lakitu will try to pull you to safety, but nothing actually happens. You just stay in this state of Mario having a realistic depiction of a panic attack forever. Or as a better way to call it, a perpetual respawn state, which has multiple consequences. For one, more obviously, you can now go out of bounds all you like. After all, the one guy stopping you from doing this is already stuck in fishing purgatory. Or what I like to call a good morning. So we can explore these out of reach spots on the sparkly water section, showing us this path off to the side, some extra water that doesn't really work as water, and that kind of wonky stuff. Given that Rainbow Road is not accessible from the normal free roam mode, this makes it the only way for us to actually reach spots like these. Now, I want to stick to Rainbow Road more, but I think we need to indulge in the primal instinct that we're all having right now, jumping off. Wait, is that not normal? So as you keep falling and falling, you might expect the low quality world below to just have no collision, or maybe there being an invisible floor somewhere. But surprisingly, once you get closer, the world actually pops back into existence. So once you land, you can drive around. This was insanely impressive to me when I first saw it. I never would have expected this world below Rainbow Road to actually be real to an extent, given that there's a kind of loading screen type transition when you go into it from the route, or I guess intermission. So while the world is still here, in this state it's actually quite barren. The lighting is off, likely meant to stay at nighttime rather than having the active day-night cycle there usually is, and there's no NPCs or anything like that either. This alone makes it have some pretty good vibes, especially if you're into those liminal space type aesthetics. If you try to go into any pipes, you'll see that they don't work, which slightly limits where you can and can't go, but an even bigger limiter is the 10-minute timer surrounding the game mode. For one, I don't really know where Mario thinks he's going here. He's acting like a scared, lost animal. But also, when I tried to proceed, I just ended up soft locking, which I guess always happens when you reach 10 minutes like this, no matter which menu option you choose after. But anyhow, with a time limit in place, it's hard to explore too much down here. We do have a way around this kinda, but before we veer too far off course, I'd like to return to Rainbow Road for a bit. So let's do that from down here by pausing. This removes the glitch, which spawns us back on Rainbow Road, which should now be called Gone Road. Or if your fun value is right, Goner Road. It was hard to notice on the way down, but once the world below loaded in, Rainbow Road itself unloaded. And it just stays like that once we respawn. I'd love to see some people attempt an invisible Rainbow Road run, but as I currently am, I am not powerful enough to handle this. I'm more interested in how this implies that, perhaps, the collision of Rainbow Road is always around way up here in normal free roam, but its visuals are just unloaded. I'm not sure if this actually proves that to be the case, but it's at least a neat thought. Anyways, going back to the glitch, being able to ignore out-of-bounds areas isn't the only thing that this glitch state does to you. Given that you keep trying to respawn here, many things break, like your ability to grab coins, your ability to even finish a lap, and surprisingly, your anti-gravity. Yeah, people have said that they miss Mario Kart 8's anti-grav mechanics, but World has it too. That's how Rainbow Road can even work, given all of its many twists and turns. So if we're getting our lackeys tooed and we try to start progressing, you'll already notice right here how hard and awkward it is to even get up the course. It'll be a struggle, but you can manage the trek. until you shoot off towards the space station. It's such a change in positioning that, without being able to update your gravity, you just fall right back down. I really just can't get enough of seeing how awkward this looks. I tried activating it from farther into this section, which you can actually do by just going backwards, since normally Lakitu tries to stop you from doing that too much. And once I got into the glider, things went really crazy, like fully upside down from the whole world. I noticeably hit some kind of invisible wall at some point, but this made me want to try it when we were going at a different angle. And what happens is that you keep whatever gravity you had from Rainbow Road going into the overworld. So the whole thing is basically slanted. I gotta tell you, driving around like this was uniquely nauseating. And it posed a very interesting challenge once slants and slopes were introduced. So if anyone ever tells you that this game got rid of anti-gravity, you can just show them this, which will make them vomit and pass out. Like, I don't have much else to comment on here, but I need you to see more footage of this. It's actually so janky in such an incredibly specific way. If you can handle this kind of thing, I think it's worth trying to set this glitch up just to experience this alone. Unless you're watching in the future after it's already been patched, in which case, guess this video will have to do. Though, speaking of doing it yourself, let's actually go back to the setup for a bit. It is precise. At the start, each successful attempt took me about 15 to 20 minutes of failed attempts beforehand, so don't be surprised if it's really hard for you to do on your own. I got consistent sometimes, but I swear to you, the timing of when you see this controller menu pop up is not always the same timing from after your controller gets plugged in, which inherently makes the whole thing random, but I don't know, maybe that's just cope. Either way, I don't think it's frame perfect, as when I compare where in the start transition the controller menu popped up, it wasn't the exact same per successful attempt I had. It's just awkward to visualize the timing given the setup. And as for why this breaks the game, I can't really say for sure, but my only guess is that you're opening up this menu the same time the game's internally transitioning to the actual mode, and by interrupting it, you're preventing important elements from loading in. That's a pretty elementary guess, though. Anyways, with all this explanation, you're probably wondering why I keep focusing on Rainbow Road. And I was wondering that too, because you can actually set up this glitch for any course. The thing is, given how everything in this game is meant to be interconnected via an open world, hence the title of this game having the word Mario, going out of bounds on these levels doesn't really have the same impact as Rainbow Road, which was otherwise inaccessible in free roam. Whereas, down here, like, whoa, I'm getting outside of Mario Circuit, like, okay, so am I, right here, see? Though there are still some things to be touched up on, just give me a second, because you might also be worried about how a glitch like this could affect time trial records. Luckily, again, while you're in this ignoring the out of bounds state, you can't seem to update your lap counter. Also, even by pausing to remove the glitch, you get sent farther back, around where you first went out of bounds, so as far as I can currently tell, there's no way of this getting people some insanely low cheated race times, at least between now and when this inevitably gets patched sometime in the future. Though fun fact, when I try to watch a replay of this, the parts where I activate the respawn glitch have the screen go pitch black, and stay that way for the entire duration, up until I paused and removed it. And the playback of this footage is totally glitched, I can't seem to speed up or anything. So while you probably won't see insanely fast times to cheese, you can activate, then deactivate it, finish it, and save a ghost like that. And when you race against this glitched ghost, you'll actually be able to see it go in the out of bounds areas, freaking out the whole time. I guess you can't catch a break even in the afterlife. Speaking of dying, Boo Cinema is actually a great place to look toward, as it's one of the few areas where, even in free roam, you'll be able to void out and not really explore an area. So by activating the glitch, we can jump into the endless abyss and see that it actually ends very quickly. There isn't too much space in here, but we can feel free to drive around and have a good old time anyways. The vibes are at least pretty cool down here. But there's another time in free roam that Lakitu will fish you up. In various parts near the world's border, if you try to drive out too far, you'll get swept away. So how about breaking through these? Initially, I just wanted to fly out on the glider section here, but the game really doesn't want you to and limits your glider movement. Luckily, I was able to maneuver my way over here anyhow and get on the wrong path. We can already tell that we're farther out than we were before, as I kind of expected, and there's even a little area down here that actually has, blades of grass and other effects, even though you should normally never be able to see this, I don't think. Yeah, no invisible wall or anything. We can just drive right off the cliff and into the ocean. Now there actually seems to be waves loaded in, and we can just keep driving and driving and driving and driving. Okay, so we eventually hit an invisible wall and we're left all the way out here. This far out, the waves are really wonky and leave Mario in odd placements, almost drowning him sometimes. And as I kept exploring, I got to a point where I could barely even see the main island anymore. Alongside this lighting that I assumed to accompany the Boo Cinema area. I don't have thalassophobia or anything like that, but if open oceans creep you out, then how do you think poor Mario here feels? Well, I mean, you could probably tell based on his expression. He's having a good time. Sometimes when it comes to these out-of-bounds things, I'm not even entirely sure what it is that I'm hoping to see. Maybe like falling into the void forever or something like that. But to be frank, just seeing this whole open ocean area out of bounds here is just... it's pretty cool in its own right, I'd say, and helps sell just how big this world is. Okay, lastly for this, let's just briefly look at other game modes because setting this glitch up is so inconsistent and time consuming that it's making me want to die. This doesn't work for Grand Prix or Knockout Tour apparently, according to one of the people who discovered the glitch, as the cutscenes at the very start will remove the glitch state. But it does work in Versus mode and Battle mode, the latter of which having some funny things to see in it. Well, I mean, I tried to do it on this course, but then I realized there wasn't actually a great place to get out of bounds outside of the lava pit in the center. But hey, this is cool, Mario's burning for eternity. But then I found one that actually lets you go out of bounds, and interestingly, without even getting far at all, Mario will just freeze. Like, completely. Lakitu is still having a great time, but even my rear view input isn't going through. I just can't do anything. I kinda wish I remembered to switch to my Pro controller so I could at least try moving the camera around, but still, I'm stuck. And no, I tried it before, but you can't just switch your controller after you've activated the glitch because that'll kinda reset it too, just like pausing. Speaking of pausing, if I do that to remove the glitch, I actually just remained in the pitch black until the round ended, at which point I was finally respawned. Granted, I kept all my balloons, even if one of them has seen better days, but, you know. And with all that gone over, I think we've seen a pretty good amount from this glitch, at least as an overview of how it works and what you can do. There is no doubt other things to test, and bringing Chrop back up, I know there's probably other things uploaded on there too. I mostly made this video because I felt like our audiences were probably different enough that I might as well spread the word before this gets patched out. You know, like for documentation reasons, I suppose. So with that done, I'm gonna thank my gorgeous patrons Burbo, Pixelboy, Raighne, Still700, and everyone else for their massive support. Stay casual, and I'll see y'all later.